wasn't bad. Where would you like to see Ukraine take Sweden to potentially eke out an advantage?
Well, we saw earlier in the Spain series how Braxis was really such a great boon for the other team, and I think I'd like to see the Ukraine do the exact same thing.
Absolutely. They are the big underdog. They didn't really stand a chance in game number 1, mostly because of their own mistakes. So if they can, you know, get those out of the way and go for, as Bakery said, a good battleground like we saw in the previous series, they can definitely take a map here.
And it is going to be Braxis Holdout will be the map. 2 times in a row, we've seen it as the go-to for the losing team for the potential comeback.
Yeah, so similar approach here for Ukraine. Go for stable lanes and maybe get 1 or 2 globals in, because you could really see what Brightwing and Dehaka were able to do, right?
Yeah. So, the Brightwing, like you said, those global potentials, incredibly effective on this map. And the Dehaka, even though it didn't get a good contagion, didn't need to because the game was basically over at this point, was still very effective on the map that the last time we saw on this map and in the last series. So potentially we will see if it is raised in priority a bit for either of these teams as we move into the draft.
I'd like to see Junkrat.
I was going to ask, how crazy is Ukraine willing to get? Do they have the players, though? I mean, Junkrat is a hero that hasn't really been available for quite some time because he wasn't released, quite frankly. And
released and then wasn't out for 2 weeks for BlizzCon.
There was a limited amount of time that teams had left to practice with him. So do they have a dedicated Junkrat expert? Remains to be seen.
So we wait for the first ban from Sweden. So like we said before, we see a quite high priority for Chromie on this map and some great usages of Chromie due to the fact any hero like Chromie or Gul'dan is going to have a very lovely time stacking, and solo lanes are so important on this map, getting that strong solo lane hero.
Yeah, and is Sweden finally willing to pick double support right at the get-go? They had to do it last time, and let's be honest, that first game could have gone against them. It could have gone either way, so I really want either pick a hero that's a decent solo support for Henning, or maybe just don't take any risk in the first place and go for something like, you know, a double support lane at the bottom.
Garrosh getting banned out. We're going back to BlizzCon opening week here, Bakery.
Yeah, Garrosh, quite a scary hero on Braxis Holdout in particular, because you do have to stand on him, especially if he's on the beacon. But even just in lane, it's so short and you have to be there. So Garrosh, a decent ban. This does mean a choice I like, actually. Sweden have to choose between the Genji, who we know is incredibly strong on this map, or the support for Henning.
Very true. Henning not getting onto that Rhaegar in the last game, which he does like. The Brightwing was effective for him, though. We were concerned about potential hero pool issues, but the Brightwing worked. However, favorites are favorites sometimes, and when it's your favorite is the top support at the moment, a Rhaegar is a very fair first pick.
And I think I like that call. If they had gone for the Genji, they would have risked a support choke maybe on the comfort zones for Henning. And if you're considered to be the favorite, if you know that actually if nothing goes wrong, you have the stronger team, you don't need to worry necessarily about the Genji, because you know that mechanically your opponents may not be on the same level.
And guys, be sure to keep voting for the team you think is going to win. Can Sweden end out this series with a 2-0? If you think so, then type into that chat hashtag SEWin. And if you think it is going to be Ukraine, if they can bring it back after that very solid performance in game number 1, then type in hashtag UAWin. Chromie makes it back to the map, and Morales, that solid solo lane sustain.
So we saw Medic struggle so much against Vortex's Chromie, so how about we pick both?
It's not bad at all. I mean, Chromie will be very thankful for those permanent healing beams by Lieutenant Morales, and it's not like Morales is the best support by any means for the Chromie, but it is one of the best supports in the lane in general.
What do you mean? Stim Drone Chromie, the best Chromie?
No.
Definitely not, Tezia.
Yeah, it's bad.
You've watched too much Trixler, let's put it this way.
Well, the thing is, you mentioned Trixler.
Trixler likes to do very crazy things on Chromie.
He does. Right now, I'm thinking what would happen if you nano-boosted and stim-droned Chromie and just got as many bronze talents as you can with the cooldown reduction. But for now, Muradin and Gul'dan, the other really solid mage on this map, makes it in for Sweden.
Yeah, and I think the Gul'dan is a very, very solid choice. He's got a long range on his abilities to reach the Chromie, even when she's a little bit further back. He's a strong lane controller, if you will, and he makes a lot of sense in general when it comes to fighting Zerg waves. I mean, no matter what you go for, probably the Felflame build, you're going to be able to control those nasty creatures very well.
Yep, absolutely. Gul'dan, a very solid pick on this map, and since both teams will want to stack, then we might see both teams face off against each other.
Yeah, they want to be in those 4-man lanes, even though they are dangerous to give the other team the advantage. So, we wait to see the second badge, for Team Ukraine. Potentially a second support, someone a bit less mana reliant for the Gul'dan, but the question is, do Sweden have one here?
You mean a second support?
Yes, that they are comfortable.
I think that is one of the core issues of the roster. They don't seem to be very comfortable with sending someone of their other players other than Henning into the second support role. Don't you think so, Bakery?
Absolutely. We saw them try to play solo Oreo. It didn't work out. They did successfully manage to pull off solo Brightwing there with some great play from Henning, but you have to ask yourself, wouldn't it be easier and better if they did have just another support?
Yeah, just keep that Gul'dan topped up, let him continue gaining those stacks. However, what we do see instead, for now at least, is that Genji getting banned out. He could have maybe snuck in and for those rotations and for those lovely ganks, but in this case, not going to happen.
So there is a hero we probably need to mention when we play on Brax's Hold, and that is Zagara. Strong solo laner, could build up a lot of pressure, is a global after 10. What do you think about it?
I'm sure both of these teams have been watching Vance and their fantastic Zagara play, but I'm sure they were also watching United Kingdom. While the Zagara was effective, they were not able to win with her.
Yeah, they weren't able to take the team fights in the end, even though they got a keep super early on, basically. If you're not able to finish the game, it doesn't matter how much damage you do to the structures.
And Greymane actually making it this far into the draft without getting banned, without getting prioritized. It really shows how some of the teams don't follow the global general rules that seem to have established in the Nexus games.
I'm really enjoying what Ukraine are doing. They're basically picking a hero and then the immediate counter for said hero. Their first pick, Morales, what she have issues with? Chromie. Let's pick Chromie too. Greymane, who did he have
Good
issues
observation.
with? Arthas. They're picking that as well. They're removing the hardest counters.
Unfortunately, all of their heroes are going to have problems against Gul'dan's Horrify.
Yeah, you can't, unfortunately...
Yeah, you can't get it all away.
However, if you look at it, Ukraine actually, this Arthas can either be main tank, especially it pairs really well with that Lieutenant Morales. It works really well on that boss side. Or it can be their top laner.
Double support. It's actually happening for Team Sweden. Brightwing comes in and they bring in a Malthael to help deal with that Arthas.
So they can definitely send maybe the Greymane top side, pick another tank or even another bruiser for this bot side, and they can actually win this lane phase possibly quite easily.
Let's see what they end up doing with here. Who is going to be the solo laner for Team Ukraine? They do have to be cautious about that Malthael, though. If they were to pick it up attack, Zagara comes back again.
And I like this. Zagara, I mean, ranged heroes in general have a much easier time dealing with a Malthael. Even the mighty Sonya could fall victim to a well-played Malthael, whereas the Zagara normally will always have enough range, enough, minions in between to keep Malthael at bay. And the greatest counter to one of the Zagara early game pressure lanes is the Genji, and he's no longer in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing to keep in mind is that Malthael cannot wave clear that well, especially not against the ranged hero. So he's going to get absolutely demolished in the top lane. But even once you look to the bot side, Greymane, Chromie, Arthas, Medic is one of the strongest bot sides I can think of.
What do you think about the potential of a 3-2 from either of these teams?
I mean, if they want to make Zagara snowball even further, and if they want to make sure that she gets a decent creep spread carpet in there, then that's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't do it all game long unless it goes really well, but especially in the first couple of minutes, I can see that being a thing.
I think Team Sweden might need to have a 3-2, and when that happens, I want to see them swap possibly the Chromie Arthas or something like that to the top side and run with Zagara bot and push against that 3-man.
Well, we are getting ready to head into this game, guys. Who do you think came out better here?
I think the Ukraine can do it.
I think so too. Game 1 really impressed me. The Zagara can work like a charm. It all comes down to individual execution. It's not impossible. I would say it's a 50-50, 51 maybe in favor of Ukraine.
The chat, however, seems to be leaning more towards a 64 in favor of Sweden, but are still 36% in favor of Ukraine as we head into game number 2. And Kendrick, who is the team on the left?
Well, it is the Swedish team, and they consist of Rask, Henning, Knutti, and of course we can't forget about the other two members, Daikarn and Skoch.
Whereas on the right-hand side, it is going to be Team Ukraine with Candlelight in the top lane and the bot lane. No Pain looking for Team Fran, Diodark, and Valamax.
All right, and it looks like at least Ukraine, they want to go for a standard 4-1 split, whereas with Sweden, it's not really that obvious. Look at that. Rask and the Murden trying to go for an early gank. Brightwing actually joining Malthael all together. This could get really spicy very soon for Zagara.
Brightwing hides away. Everyone hiding away, actually, for Team Sweden, as Malthael finally picks his level 1 talent, Fear the Reaper. But look at Zagara. So much cautiousness in that top
rightfully so. Rightfully so. I mean, just because Genji is not in the game does mean that there aren't other heroes who could do a similar job at ganking or Murd, and most importantly, could always jump over those wall pieces near the beacon to really surprise her from an unexpected angle.
Newty just dodging the Dragon Breath, and you guys called it completely correctly. It is a 3-2 from Sweden, putting 2 members in that top lane and 3 in that bottom lane. Malthael and the Brightwing chilling up in the top lane to lane against the Zagara. Brightwing, Fairy Fire, very effective at clearing out those creep tubes.
And all of a sudden, winning conditions for Zagara in order to win the lane have changed. Instead of, you know, I want to poke Malthael a lot and I want to destroy buildings as much as possible. It is just like, I need to stay in lane and I need to keep the lane pushed because my 4-man lane in the bottom is going to be outlaning and outperforming what Sweden has.
Newty having to port back, like you said, that bot lane underperforming thanks to the crazy poke, and Morales actually helping out with that a lot. Some really solid grenades so far. And you can actually see on your, if you guys ever want to see how good Zagara is doing for creep, that light purple in the top lane, that is her creep spread. And really, that Arcane Flare from Brightwing has been denying it very well.
And the problem here is, just because Brightwing spent most of the time in the top lane, it doesn't mean Malthael can win the lane, or you can even think of like killing Zagara, because Brightwing herself doesn't offer the most of wave clear, she doesn't offer the most of kill potential, so it was just a mere stalling, and that really didn't do anything.
Rask?
Yeah, Rask has a... Nobody saw that.
Stormbolt
Don't worry.
The Zeratul that has snuck its way into the game.
Nobody saw it.
As we see Daikarn eating a Dragon Breath there. Very a lot of damage dealt there. Rask having to pull back though, let his trait activate so he can regen up.
Slowly but surely the power of Gul'dan is starting to kick in though, especially with the Brightwing and the Rhaegar. They're out-sustaining their opponents, and Fran is the one who gets caught. Arthas is one of the laziest, slowest warriors in the game. I hope you didn't hear that, because I don't want him to visit me in my dreams at night. But he doesn't have the mobility to jump away in time. And I think the Ukraine, they actually overestimated themselves. They were running out of mana, they were running out of juice, especially Morales didn't have enough energy to save everybody. And all of a sudden, the poke from Gul'dan was enough.
Yeah, they lost him back. They lost Zagara as well. This is actually right now Sweden in a very strong position. Top lane, Brightwing just teleported back up again. It was 2 versus 0 up there for an extended period of time as the Zerg wave is coming in 100% to 0.
Absolutely true, and this is going to be a serious issue now for Ukraine. Their wave clear is okay, but it's nowhere near, you know, amazing. They only have a couple of cocktails. Chromie will have to wait until Dragon's Breath comes off cooldown. That takes a while. And as you can see, those towers are just getting overrun, Tetcher.
Those towers are dropping very fast here as Fran holding the line for the moment, but he's still taking some damage from Rask with those thunderclaps. He's healthy enough though. He's still doing a good job holding through all this, especially with the help of No Pain LFT.
At some point, I'm starting to wonder whether Zagara was a greedy pick here, maybe. I mean, the Swedish team, they played so well against it, and they didn't even do 100% perfectly. But still, it was enough to really severely cripple the overall early game momentum that the Ukraine really needed in order to establish a good foothold in this game. The creep spread is nice, you know, but Zagara ended up losing towers and not vice versa.
Zagara lost the towers, like you said. There was, to be fair, no Zerg in her lane. It was 0%, so she did just get heavily counter-pushed.
And now we're going to have to wait for quite some time until level 10 kicks in. The Zagara then maybe with a little bit of a global pressure with the Nidus Worms can maybe do it. Chromie, of course, gains access to heroic ability a little bit sooner than others. But up to this point, I can't see any threatening weapon by Ukraine to really threaten Sweden. They don't even go cleanse on Brightwing because Rega is there. Yeah. That's how well their team composition is working.
It's working very well. They are set up, and it's really good to see that they are comfortable running that double support setup here.
Yeah, and it looks like we're having an issue here. We will be back in a bit, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind.
Yep.
Hold that thought.
And we're back. Let's keep going as we do see the continued pushing potential onto that bottom lane.
All right, sorry for that, guys. We are back in the action, back in the game. You know, happens to the best of us. However, nothing in the game has been changed. All the players were not affected by this, so we can definitely take a little breather. Everything's good. No need to spam all those wood face. We got you.
As we continue to see the pressure, that mercenary camp taken down. Good corruption, if only, and that is the build that Nuti went for, getting those extra stacks here. He's up to 26 now.
Yeah, very solid, and that's the cool thing to observe here as well. Knuti, I was very, very harsh on him in that Genji game number 1. Holy cow, Rask barely managing it out. But I think over the course of this series, he stepped it up so much, and it really shows all that raw talent and class that we've got for Team Sweden here.
A beautiful Storm Bolt, but that Frost Presence from Fran, allowing him to just wade through all of that damage in CC, and he is able to get out without too many difficulties.
Yep, so we're gonna have the poison, by the way. Okay, level 8 is here, so let's see what Chromie is going to lock in. As we said, cleanse is there, so yeah. Temporal Loop wouldn't have made any sense at all whatsoever. The slowing stance being placed on the beacon immediately, and that is always a scary sight.
Urgent though, acting as a backline assassin, putting pressure onto no pain, but Henning is eating those Chromie shots.
And if you take a look at the top lane, actually Brightwing did such a good job helping Malthael that Malthael in top lane is now totally fine to fight a Zagara head on.
Yeah.
The fort has been damaged tremendously, Tetcher.
That fort could be taken down in this Zerg wave, which is right now on 70%. We see bot taken, at least for a little bit, by Ukraine, but look at those health bars. That consistent damage from Gul'dan is enough to force them off. Zagara, though, has at least temporarily claimed back control of top lane as Skor has to retreat for mana.
Yeah, Skor is also going to have a nice surprise at the ready for Lieutenant Morales. He went for Touch of Death at level 7, and that one can be activated to minimize all healing done by 50%. And for a high burst hero like Morales with that healing beam, that is bad news.
Malthael is going to take a lot of damage here as Zagara is trying to force her way onto the point, and she's going to be poking him down, but Brightwing has teleported up to help him, and that will guarantee control of that top altar and bring the Zerg to bear down on Zagara.
And that's a very smart play because they realized, hey, you know what, we're going to have Zergs in the top lane, so why don't we just continue what we've been doing all game long, help top lane, keep that Zagara in check, and destroy the fort. Yeah, Rask, he's just having a good time, you know?
He is just so far forward, and he's not being punished for it because he is so tanky and so mobile here. He even took Avatar, went for the safety, and
that's a Horrify
used very early here. And here comes the follow-up from Rask. Emerald win, bye-bye. No pain.
Wow, Chromie. So, a lot of people are probably going to be like, wow, that was kind of a risky Horrify, wasn't it? Because it didn't even cause people to run back in our team line. But hold that thought. We're going to watch Rask as he continues his forward business.
He's got no mana, and he still jumps in. He has just enough mana to land his combo, so he commits. That is an aggressive dwarf.
Yeah, one aggressive dwarf indeed. But back to the Horrify. Because Rask has the heavy impact at level 7, he has his own mini slow, and he patiently waited until the Horrify was about to run out, and then the Horrify targets had no chance of escaping, and that was just a beautiful setup and a nice CC chain.
So, the XP count, Zagara now has the potential for Night as well, so she can begin to bring that back for Ukraine, as long as she's not punished. But of course, she has to be careful of if she sees any hero that isn't Brightwing. Brightwing could join them at any time and turn the matchup into a 2 versus 1. We also do now see the stim drone coming in from Brad, not for the Chromie, as I did jokingly allude to earlier. Greymane is going to be spectacularly effective now that he will have one.
Ooh, yeah. That go for the throat is going to make a lot of difference here. Oftentimes, when you have a good Greymane and you set up the Greymane very nicely with that stim drone and the go for the throat, then spells like Ancestor Healing can oftentimes land too late. Brightwing doesn't have a lot of burst healing herself, so, you know, the Swedes despite having a nice lead, they need to be on their guard because that could, yep, there we go. Knuti takes a lot of damage.
The fear is dropped though, and the Ancestral, and Knuti isn't finished off, even though Go for the Throat was used. We still see the Gul'dan, the very squishy Gul'dan at that, getting out without dying.
Stimdron was actually used on Arthas, so he couldn't be slowed by anything. By the slowing totem, for example, he couldn't really be slowed by Murden because they wanted him to slow everybody and then follow up with the rest of their backline. However, that was their last chance of fighting in even terms. Now 13 is just around the corner.
So as a heads up for that, guys, the idea, everyone thinks of Stimdron as a, I will get the maximum possible attack speed possible, but the 25% bonus movement speed, like Kendrick was talking about, can be a huge deal in this kind of situation on certain heroes.
Especially when it's Arthas who has this AoE slowing area around him. So oftentimes slowing your opponents with Arthas, who's moving a lot quicker, is way more efficient than getting the Greymane in, who still probably has to go back at some point because he's not the tankiest of members. Something else that Arthas doesn't have to worry about.
Oh, hang on. Deodog in a little bit of trouble as Fran is trying to retreat. Fran lands a root though and will be able to get out. Minus 50 heal is super good though. But yeah, you mentioned the extra movement speed. This is why we will sometimes see Abathurs go for the extra movement speed. The Dreadlip boost? No, what is the name of that talent? The extra speed boost on the shield as opposed to the Venom Spines, which do slow at level 16. It's pretty much only with Arthas that we will see that, as Arthas does eat a lot of poison because Echoed Corruption is complete.
Fred needs to be so careful right now. He will chunk a lot of energy out of Morales, who has to be very, very saving and conservative herself. Murden, look at that slow and stun. He just nailed him down.
Stimdron is dropped onto Arthas, but no, Paid is destroyed. Fran doing everything he can to protect Deodog here, but Deodog will get chased down. He's dropping low. He will actually escape here as the focus was shifted as they go onto Candle as well, and Candle will get dropped.
Yeah, the Candle gets blown out by Sweden. Very well done by Rask, who is the MVP Muradin player in this game. He completed the hammer time. That means two targets are going to get hit by Stormbolt. The cooldown will be lowered as well. And now it's just a question of time until the Swedes can take this boss with Malthael, who chunks so much damage from the Archangel.
Rask plays...
Nice timing, by the way.
Yeah, very nice timing. Rask plays Muradin like an Illidan with CC.
Oh,
he is playing so aggressively into the backline. The difference is he has sustain, and a lot of it.
And a hammer.
And a hammer, as opposed to two cool swords. A hammer and an axe, as he continues to move in forward with the rest of his team, and the Archangel, and the Zerg. That is a push, as we see Sweden looking to try and close this out.
Absolutely. They are here to set the killing blow on Ukraine, who will have to do everything in their power to defend this. The Archangel boss, as if that wasn't bad enough for them, is going to be joined by the mighty power of the Zerg Swarm. And they're moving in. Now, what can they do? They have to give up that keep. There's no way they can defend that. At the core, maybe, but they're going to have to use a lot of stuff here.
Stimdron used onto Greymane for actually, I think, the first time here, but so far he has landed 2, 3 auto attacks, 4, 5, 6, 7 auto attacks total while Stimdron was active. As he gets focused down, Deodog, trying to get onto the backline as the core shield is going down. Emerald Wind used by Daikon there to give his team the chance to use it. The Horrify was good though, but it's going to be Arthas who drops first. Core is going down. The Archangel running out of health, but the core runs out first. And that is going to be GG as Sweden takes the 2-0.
Wow, there were so many good moves by the Swedish team this time around. It's very hard to not highlight any of the players. First and foremost, I want to give some love to Rask on that Muradin. I really think that he had a couple of dwarf tosses and storm bolts that we made a little bit fun of early when he had a couple of crazy hammers. But in the end, he had perfect synchrony with the Gul'dan, most importantly. Those fears into the heavy impact made sure that none of the Ukrainian players could escape.
Yeah, Vask was definitely the player I wanted to highlight as well. Absolutely great understanding of what his role as a tank is, and that's actually my first replay. Excellent. We're ready to get into it. This is the 3v3 on bot shrine, and when we start this, Ukraine is actually ahead, but there is a major communications breakdown. So as they start it, you see that they're so low on resources and they think they need to force. But look at top lane. Zagara actually just takes the beacon for free. So they don't need to force anymore. There is no man on Arthas, there is no man on Curry, and there's now no energy. So you can back out Ukraine. You don't need to fight this. Look at Rask. He uses his passive. He's just waiting. He's just waiting. And now he knows this is the time. Actually misses the storm, but it doesn't matter. He goes down. On top lane, though, Zagara also makes an absolutely brutal miscalculation and goes down as well. That's 100% Zerg wave. That's 2 kills. That's a small level lead already. And that's where the game basically ends.
Yeah, and I think also we need to highlight the early game rotation by Sweden, sending Brightwing to help Malthael in keeping Zagara under control. But Brightwing always made sure, Henning always made sure that he was there when his team really needed him.
Couldn't agree more. They were able to rotate around the map with great efficiency, and it's nice to see the Swedish team can do double support. We were concerned about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a strong double support as well. Why aren't they playing it more is the question now.
Well, we still have more matches to see from them, but that will come at a later date. But we also have one more series to bring to you guys today, and it's going to be a doozy. It is Russia versus Portugal. That will be our last series of the day. What do you guys think? You excited?
Well, we're saving one of the best teams for the last year, and we can't really discredit Portugal by any means. They gave Sweden one tough time in their first match of this tournament.
I have 2 questions left about the Nexus games. Who's better? Is it Poland or is it Russia? And how good is Portugal? And hopefully we can answer both of those after the break.
We will find out right after the break, so don't you guys go anywhere. We will be right back after this short break with Russia versus Portugal.
Terra Marines are the toughest frag magnets in the galaxy. But when they're in trouble, guess who they call? Medic! Winning a battle is more than just shooting enemy soldiers. It's about saving your own. I protect every member of my squad with my life. Sometimes I think I'm the only thing holding them together. Who am I? I'm Lieutenant Morales. I'm your man. I'm gonna need a lot of bandages.
The Expeditionary Force intended to put an end to the conflict in the Kaprulu sector and ensure Earth's survival. Unfortunately for Vice Admiral Alexei Stukov, things didn't go according to plan. After being betrayed and killed, his corpse was reanimated and infested, and he was imprisoned and experimented on by his assassin, Samir Duran. Only through a chance alliance with Kerrigan was Stukov able to escape and exact his revenge. Now, his infestation continues to spread into the Nexus. Stukov is a calculating solo support whose infestation abilities capitalize on the movements of his team and the position of his enemy. Stukov is a master at spreading and manipulating viruses created by his abilities. His first ability, Healing Pathogen, boosts his allies with a heal over time effect and spreads automatically to unaffected allies nearby. Next is Weighted Pustule. This ranged missile pierces through enemy heroes, dealing damage and inflicting them with a slowing virus that increases over time and deals additional damage when it ends. By activating his trait, Bio Kill Switch, Stukov detonates all active viruses on the map, immediately ending their effects and healing his allies or hurting his enemies. Using Bio Kill Switch on Healing Pathogen ends its heal over time effect instantly and heals for a large amount. Detonating Weighted Pustule damages the enemy host and applies a heavy slowing effect. When activated, Stukov's lurking arm plunges into the ground and continually deals damage to enemies in his grasp. Heroes within the target area take additional damage and are silenced as long as they remain inside. Lurking Arm is a channeled ability with an upfront mana cost and lasts until canceled or interrupted. Stukov's first heroic is Massive Shove. Upon casting, Stukov gains a significant amount of armor and launches his arm in the target direction, shoving away the first enemy he contacts. The shove lasts until his foe collides with unpathable terrain and takes damage, no matter how far a distance that may be. His second heroic is Flailing Swipe. As the name suggests, Stukov wildly swings his arm, dealing damage to enemies and knocking them away. He swipes 3 times consecutively, and with each one, the area affected grows larger than the last.
Greetings. I am more monster than man.
Stukov is a monstrous support that his allies love and his enemies fear. Lurking Arm is terrifying to opponents. It appears without warning and shuts down their ability to fight. Foes foolish enough to rush towards Stukov will quickly discover his ability to knock them back, and that his melee is deadlier than they imagined. Make the most of your viruses. Use Weighted Pustule to cripple an enemy team during a team fight. Your healing pathogen gains value when your team sticks together and spreads its heal over time effect. Communicate with your allies and pick the right target as your patient zero. You'll be surprised at the distance your healing can spread. Popping Pustules is a quest talent that empowers Stukov's Bio Kill Switch trait. Detonate enough pustules and the damage and slow upon explosion become area effects. Detonate viruses when the enemy team is clumped up and watch its effectiveness multiply. Universal Carrier allows healing pathogen to spread back to Stukov from his allies. With solid positioning, he can pass his healing virus between his teammates and himself indefinitely. Finally, the Bio Explosion talent at level 20 allows Stukov to use his Bio Kill Switch trait to explode his lurking arm. This applies a weighted pustule and silences enemies for a couple seconds, providing ample time for your team to remove them from the board. Soon, Stukov's infestation will spread onto the battlegrounds of the Nexus. Manipulate its unique nature to benefit your allies and bring your enemies' downfall.
That I enjoyed.